The love scene was incredibly intimate. I mean, we were not even touching each other. You know, we were 6 feet away from one another, and yet it's probably the most intimate love scene I've ever done, and the most embarrassing to watch, and it's not me. So, I don't know how that works or how that happens, but there you have it.
The interesting thing of the sex scene is to go back to the beginning of it all, is that the sex scene was originally performed on stage when it was just a sound play. So obviously when we came to do that in the studio, you know, it was understood that this would be represented one day by puppets.
Will you kiss me again?
I hope to.
I hope you do too. Sometime.
That was a thing of beauty.
The goal was to have this sort of be an extension of the interaction between Michael and Lisa that led up to it, and not be a break in it, and not betray the characters, and allow them to have this experience with each other in the way that Michael and Lisa would. And we were very aware of the pitfalls of people thinking, you know, this is going to be funny, and it's going to be like Team America, and it's puppet sex, and it's a joke. And so we wanted to do everything in our power to make it not that, and make it clear that any humor that comes out of the scene is going to come out of organically out of the interaction between these characters and their awkwardness.
Ouch, ouch. My hair.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
One of the things right off the bat that we established is we did it essentially in one shot. The reason being, there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to escape. It's kind of raw and authentic, and there it is. Here are these two people, they're exposed and vulnerable. But that posed a lot of challenges, technically, because you can't cut around things. It's, you know, this interaction has to be seamless from a practical standpoint, and there's all these technical challenges, like the puppets interacting with each other, because these puppets are made to, when you bend them or when you push them, they move. That's how they function. So if they're interacting with each other and you move one thing, everything moves. The bed moves, the sheets move, the hair moves, Lisa moves, Michael moves, everything moves. And so the animator was challenged with constantly pushing and pulling their performance, working sometimes 2 or 3 hours to get a single frame. This is why this scene took many months.
And in order for us to visualize and do all this stuff, we actually started with 2 actors, adult actors, got a bed here. They went down to Bed Bath & Beyond. They got a comforter, 2 nightstands, pillows, and we had 2 adult actors come in. They were directed.
What happens if you scoot forward a little bit, but you don't put your heels on the edge of the bed? That's kind of awkward. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
And they acted out the scene. And so you could see how the comforter gets pulled down and how do they take off their clothes, because, you know, especially in an intimate moment like that, you want to see what's going to happen organically in the scene. And I wasn't going to do it, nor was, you know, any of the animators going to do this reference video for it.
I love where Lisa hits her head on the headboard, and I think that works because that's literally a real thing. Like, that actually happened. The actress that was, you know, acting out the sex scene scooted back too far, misjudged her distance from the headboard, laid back and hit her head on the headboard.
Oh shit, are you okay?
And so we were like, yeah, let's use that.
I was dreading that shot, that scene. It was just really difficult. We started prepping for that shot in March, and I think we launched in July.
There was lots of preparation that had to go into it, lots of particular designing clothing that could be animatable, designing rigs that could animate the clothing, animate the puppets.
We did R&D testing how the shirt would come off, what type of material. You know, in stop motion, the clothes have to be rigged. The comforter, same thing, has to be rigged. Michael has to be special, and so does Lisa. And this is where we put all our money.
We started with wire armatures, and then realized with the wire armature, you don't get as sharp and defined of bends as you would with the ball and socket armature. So for the sex scene, we needed full ball and socket armatures so they could do all the things that they needed to do in that shot and still look realistic, where costumes couldn't hide anything that was a problem.
The arms were hair punched, the legs were hair punched, and so those 2 puppets are the most anatomically correct with bits and hair.
We had to engineer puppets that had a jelly-like substance under a thin layer of silicone so that they could when they bent, their fat looked like it moved like fat moves, and when they compress into each other, it looks like they're compressing. You know, the silicone, it's a dense material. It doesn't provide for a lot of give or compression when the puppets are laying on top of each other. So, you know, we had to work a lot with puppets trying to figure out, you know, we were actually kind of cutting into the puppet as we were going and hollowing it out just so Michael's stomach would compress a little bit more than it would naturally. And there were multiple flying rigs, a rig coming into the top of Michael's back to help him arch his back in a certain way, and in his butt to keep him locked down to the bed.
And then the bed had to be specially rigged for compression.
You know, the bed is a foam mattress, and the puppet's not going to be heavy enough to actually compress that mattress himself. So we actually have rigging underneath that would help pull the mattress so it looks like he's actually bearing weight on the bed.
It was so complicated to animate with the bedding and clothes coming off that, you know, during a shot the animator would need to put what they call a rigging, like little pieces of, you know, arms that would come in and where you can animate basically clothes coming off or stuff like that. So for us it was always the animator would put it in and all of a sudden there was a shadow on the bed.
There was just, you know, rigs, wires poking into every little nook and cranny, trying to conform those characters to do what they were supposed to do, so we had to go back and paint all that out. And that one was a tricky one because people really need to be focusing on the moment and not wondering how they did it or thinking, oh, they didn't do a good enough job. So that one, there was a lot of pressure for that scene, I think.
You know, everybody had to kind of go in with a plan. So for the lighting department, because we knew it was going to last so long, we had to, you know, once we lit everything, we needed it very durable, you know, because we couldn't have anything sag. So a lot of time was spent with us, you know, making sure nothing would move.
The most extreme animatable clothing scene was the sex scene, where they actually physically had to take off all of their clothing. And at one point, you know, Michael's just wearing a button-down shirt, so there's nowhere to really hide the wires.
The way that you put wire into clothing is you glue it on one sheet of fabric and then you glue another sheet of fabric on the other side. But now suddenly it's 2-ply fabric and it looks too thick.
One of our costumers came up with the idea of running wires on each dark stripe in the shirt and then stitching it individually, each wire in there.
Hiding wires in the strips of Michael's shirt that were the opposite side of what camera's seeing on a single ply of fabric, and then as he opens the shirt on this movement, it flips. They take that shirt, they get rid of it, they bring in another shirt where the wires are reversed and they're on the other side of the fabric. So there's multiple shirts, there's multiple pieces of underwear, multiple skirts, multiple bras to just execute the technical aspects of, you know, how these things move.
I don't want to lose you. I lose everyone.
Seeing the final film and watching how it plays out, it's so natural that you really feel for them, and it doesn't take away that they're puppets. I think it's, you know, probably one of the more tender scenes, love scenes you'll see in a movie.
You have this recording of Jennifer and I doing what we did, not really knowing how it would be represented, and then you have what those guys went away and did with the puppets, and bringing those two things together. And what you do end up with is just something very, very, very beautiful and very honest. People laugh sometimes at first because they can't quite believe what they're seeing, but then there's a hush in the audience where they're like, oh my god, this is one of the most truthful sex scenes I've ever seen, and it's two little puppets doing it. But it's, you know, it's beautiful, it's very beautiful and very funny.
There were a lot of conversations about putting this in a practical world, in an environment, as opposed to clean, you know, sound effect stuff. And it's its own animal, this movie. We're always trying to push it towards a feeling of actuality as opposed to artificiality.
Part of that is like trying to just not make things so polished and clean. You can do that with stop motion. You can make everything like perfect. All the sound is pristine and everything's super polished and clean. And the same approach that we had to the visuals, not cleaning up the animation, not painting out the chatter and visual effects, not painting out the seams of the replacement faces in visual effects. Similarly with the sound, you wanted it to have that natural room tone, or, you know, the dirtiness that we have in life.
We did a guerrilla-style Foley track where the Foley was recorded non-traditionally out in the field, in real spaces, in hallways, in rooms that mimicked the rooms that we see on screen. And that created a realness and a little bit of a raw feel to everything that we're experiencing.
We wanted that connectivity with the environments throughout the movie.
At least our idea was that if you are recording real sounds in the real world and applying them to this, that it would have the same sort of soulfulness that we were looking for.
Robert Hernandez, please pick up the white courtesy phone. Please, Robert Hernandez to the white courtesy phone. Welcome to Cincinnati.
Yeah, the walk at the airport's fun because Michael is experiencing everyone as the same. And we punch up all of the sort of annoying sounds of being at that airport, and the backup beeps, and the carts that go by, and hearing all the people complain about they can't make their flights and all that, but it's all Tom, right?
Oh yeah, where are you gonna go? I'm just going. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
You've got the Tom voices everywhere. There's that kind of unease, and then, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the taxi cabin.
Hello. Hi. The zoo is great. World class, they say. Many, many important, endangered species.
Obviously, Michael is trying to be comfortable, but he just cannot be. And we supported that by designing that cab ride to be an unsettling experience by giving you all the extra rattles and squeaks and moans.
Nah, that's British Airways. Anyway, I have an ear for accents.
We've got a radio on to a kind of a right-wing talk show host, and then we've got the cab calls. Chaos in the cab, I think.
Yeah, there's a toy store. About 2 blocks up. It's open all night. Real class place.
Visita mi canal.
It's the bathroom. Air conditioning and heat controls here. TV remote control, mini bar.
And in the hotel, we have a lot of sort of intense room tone sort of stuff, and air conditioners, and I don't know, they're stressful, I guess.
Every location has that effect.
Anyway, I can't wait to see you when I get back.
With the amount of work that went into making all of these sets and the features on the dolls and the wardrobes, and it's just so amazing to me. And it's the first thing that struck me when I saw it. It's my jaw at the floor, and that we tailored something on the sound dimension to a company that I am very happy with.
I like that word. Anomaly. I like the way it sounds, and I like what it means.